Living by faith is not hard to do. God has not given us a system that is difficult. God's way is simple. Christ said that himself. My yoke is easy and my burden is light. Living by faith is not hard to do. The reason people think living by faith is hard is because they don't put time into living by faith. They don't put time into learning the scriptures. They don't put any time towards learning who and what God really is. And then, after not spending any time trying to understand or learn these things, people want to jump out there and try to live by faith. And when they try to live by faith without knowledge or understanding, it doesn't work. And then they say it's hard to live by faith. But it's not. It's just like anything else. You're not going to go and jump on anything else and just be able to do it off the top. It used to be an old saying, if you want to learn how to swim, just jump in the water. But that mess doesn't work. You go out there like you try to do faith and jump in some water without knowing how to swim, you about to drown. So it's the same way. You're not going to tell a LeBron James or a Michael Jordan that basketball is hard to play. You're never going to convince me that it's hard to draw. You're never going to convince a Serena Williams or a Coco Gauff that it's hard to play tennis. You're not going to convince JT, or you're not going to convince Jamal Hartwell that it's hard to play a keyboard. See, these people are people who put time into what they do. These people study what they do. They didn't start off as masters, but they put in the time, they put in the effort, they put forth the energy to understand, to know, and to learn what they needed to know and what they needed to do. And they became great at what it is that they do. Is it hard? No. Put in the work. Is it hard? No. Put in the time. Is it hard? No. Study, learn, understand, grow. And then you will see that it's not hard. You just don't know what you're doing. And I did the same thing for years, out here trying to live by faith without knowledge of faith. Out here trying to live by faith without understanding what faith even was. Out here trying to love God without even knowing what God was. Out here trying to live for God without knowledge of God. And it just doesn't work. The problem is now people just come into church and off the top claim to love God. People get on the altar, cry a couple of tears, and automatically they claim to have salvation. They claim to hate the world. That quick, they claim to be a child of God. And then you got people who've been in the church for a long time, and they let these people get away with making these claims. They let people get away with telling these lies and believing these false statements And then when these people go out and try to live by these false statements, these false claims that you let them get away with making, they get their butts tore up, and then they're mad at God, they're mad at the church. Now they don't want nothing to do with faith, nothing to do with the Bible. They don't want to hear anything. And really, who can blame them? They think they knew what they were doing, and they think the right that they didn't actually work. I don't blame them for wanting to turn away from God. I don't blame anybody that's like that for wanting to turn away from the church, because they actually think living a life by faith is hard. They actually think there's nobody that can live the life that God intended for man to live. So no, living by faith is not hard to do. But here's the problem with faith. A real connection to faith equals a disconnection from doubt. A real connection with Christ equals a disconnection from the devil. A real connection to the church equals a disconnection from the club. A real connection with the people of God equals a disconnection from the world. A real connection with this power of truth equals a disconnection from weakness. But when you look at people today, whether in the church or out of the church, people today are trying to do both. And doing both, living on both sides, trying to connect to both ways of living, will never work. And that's the problem. You have to choose how you're going to live. You have to choose which side you're going to be on. But people now, they want to live by faith and they want to doubt at the same time. People now, they want to be a part of the church, but they still want to be attending the club. They want to hang out a little bit with the people of God, and then they want to spend other days, other times, hanging out with people that's worldly. They want to walk in power for some issues, and then they want to walk in weakness for other issues. You cannot have it both ways. As soon as something happens in your life and you're supposed to be a faith walker, you're supposed to be a true believer, you cannot choose to try to act like you're connected with doubt. Choose to try to act like you're connected with weakness. You choose to try to act like you're connected with the world. It doesn't work. Choose your connection. If it's going to be the world, then go ahead and be with the world. Do things the world's way. But if it's going to be God's system, then you do things according to God's design. It's that simple. Just choose. I'm not mad at you. It doesn't matter if you want to go this way or that way. It's up to you. So I'm telling you, living by faith is not hard. It just takes time, energy, and effort. So what's your choice? Are you going to connect to faith, or are you going to connect to doubt? Are you going to connect to Satan's system, or are you going to connect to God's system?